What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the walkthrough. Absolutely crazy, crazy times, man. I lost a friend of mine today by the name of Jazz Waters, a very talented and gifted screenwriter for different shows. We love you, Jazz. And this is a time where we've all been able to rely on each other, man. You see the protests in the streets. We're coming together as one. And today I brought in somebody who I consider not just a friend, but a brother for a couple of decades now in the game. You know him as Fat Joe, Joey Crack,
Yeah,
Jopra,
what up, Shot?
the Don Cartagena. Just so
Live,
many.
live from
Love,
ground
man.
zero. What's up with you, Shot? A walkthrough?
The walkthrough, this the new vibe right now, man. We on Twitch, which is the biggest app for all of the gamers, man. We usually have a few 100,000 people coming in every week to check us, man, live, man. So we on to the next bounce, Joe.
Nothing wrong with that, man. We got to do what we got to do, man. We got to inform the people.
Absolutely. And these are the most urgent times, man. I love, I always, whatever you doing, I'm full in supporting. I'm jumping out the plane with no parachute, whatever Joe say. That's what we gotta do. And the love is always reciprocated. I really appreciate it. During this whole lockdown phase, man, you've been one of the most active on social media, the Jopra show, one of the biggest, so big, man. Everybody from Puff to Mike Tyson, Emmanuel Lewis, Webster, and you had Lil Wayne on there too. The first time Lil Wayne ever did IG Live, man. How did it feel just to have just another successful venture?
Oh, man, it feels great. I first did it to uh, try to help the people, the fans, get through the coronavirus, with a lot of uncertainty. This didn't happen. Nothing like this happened in 100 years. So it was like, I did it just to help the people, and then it wound up being therapy for me, and
Mm.
then it turned into a whole nother thing, and then now with rest in peace George Floyd and Aubrey, it just turned into another thing. So it feels like the daily news. It feels like it changes every day.
Yeah. And definitely when you say therapy, man, I think it's great because it's something that's bringing not just the black community, Latino community, hip hop community, but you got people from all over the world tuning in and really feeling what's going on, especially with the protests and everything that's going on, man. This is one of the first times, well, the first time I say that we've seen people from across the globe joining in to
It's
the
a
rallies.
historical time, man. It's a weird time because yeah, that's positive. The unity. I was explaining to my daughter that I believe 30 years from now we'll see George Floyd in textbooks, like almost like a Rosa Parks,
Right.
for this time and this movement. Um, but it's a global thing, man. Racism is a global thing. It's racism between, the same people. You know what I mean? Like light skinned blacks and dark skinned blacks. Or if you watch Spanish TV, Univision, you never see a dark skinned Latino on there. They always got blonde hair and blue eyes. So colorism and racism exists everywhere. And there's some people who just feel like, as long as we got respect for each other and we love each other, that's my brother or that's my
Mhm.
sister. So we tired of people just because your skin color is black, being thinking less of or looked at as, you're not equal. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, that's why the whole world is moving as one right now.
One of the things I definitely gotta also applaud you for, man, is uh you've spoken out on behalf of the transgender community, the LGBT community, because we can't be out there talking about racism and
unity and
discriminating,
all that, and then
and
we and
then
we beating up our brothers
nah,
and
we can't do
sisters.
that.
Come on, we can't do that. And you know, I don't care. We all have uh, LGBT community within our families and all that. Like, you know, they are family, man. You can't be talking about yo, rest in peace, George Floyd, and then be beating up people because of their preference in life. You know what I'm saying? And they black, they Latino. That's bad, bro.
Yeah. And you for your whole career, man, you've been somebody bringing unity together, not just the and just in the hip hop circle, but man, the way that the black and Latino community comes together as one, Big Pun, Fat Joe, like that's just one of the greatest hallmarks, man, of your career, I gotta say.
Well, you know, when it comes to, you know, I was raised by black people. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So, as you know, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So, you know, and in any neighborhood that you go, where you have disenfranchised people, it's always blacks and it's always Latinos. And so when you see this, the school system is failing blacks and Latinos. The hospitals are horrible in neighborhoods where blacks and Latinos live. So all the systemic racism affects both of them equally the same way. So I tell my Latino brothers and sisters, I say, yo, bro, to help the Black Lives Matter movement is to help yourself, because
absolutely.
any laws that are being changed helps you when you're racially profiled, or you're when you have brutality or harassment. So you know we got to start thinking like that.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm just so inspired by is that these protests, they haven't stopped. Usually I think that's one of our biggest downfalls is that, in the past things have happened, atrocities, and Chuck D will make a song about it, or Q-Tip will make a song about it. We'll do a couple of marches, and that's it. But with this George Floyd, what makes it so historic is that it's just an ongoing thing. Like, we've been going for about 2 weeks strong, and it's still going.
Unfortunately, there's a thing that we have always heard about. You know, it's almost like an Illuminati. It's the blue wall of silence, to
Right.
where you know they don't ever call each other out. They back each other up no matter what. But this is the first time that you've seen police commissioners and cops and p- police unions say that they denounce what happened to George Floyd. That they know that that was straight murder on camera. So
Yeah.
it's the first time I ever seen a police officer in the police uniform go on social media and say, "Nah, I'm with y'all. They murdered him."
Yeah.
You know, it's a new day.
Yeah. And I always say, us as humans, we got to be humane. That's just the basic. We got to treat each other just as human beings, man. When I saw the George Floyd footage of the guy kneeling on him with his hand in his pocket, if you look into his eyes, the close up, it's like the guy didn't even have a soul. I'm talking about the police officer at a certain point. It's like he was just going through some type of demonic trip. I couldn't believe it.
Well, you know what, Shah is this this country company, because it's ran like a company, but this country uh had 400 years of racism,
Right.
and unfortunately, uh we've been told to get over it. That you know it happened, just go to, and we have let them get away with it and said, you know what, no reparations, no nothing. We're gonna go on with our life, and we're gonna do what we gotta do, and we're gonna respect you. If we work with you and you're a white person, we're gonna respect you as such, a human being. And we did all that. But it's unfortunate, and it's sad to see um that in some people's eyes, speaking of the cop who killed George, he could care less. And guess what? He just knew he wasn't getting in trouble for it. He was
Yeah.
killing George on camera. Like,
And he was like, so what?
yeah, but everybody got theirs coming, bro. Everybody, God don't like ugly, man. Everybody got theirs coming.
One of the things that is very important, we had David Banner on here. You know David Banner, very spirited guy. We've had Bun being traded truth. I see them on the front lines, and I love seeing people like Trey and Bun as some of our leaders, Killer Mike and Ti. But I also love the fact that we've seen some of the young artists really go out there. Like when I saw Little Yachty as one of the first artists out there with the protests, I said that's amazing. When I saw Sway Lee, one of the first guys out there, YB and Corday, I love that the young generation is really stepping up.
Well, this is their time. All we could do is advise them and give them wisdom. But this is their generation. This is their time. It's a big changing of the guard, and why not, man? We got to support these young brothers, and they got to wake up too. Yeah, it's all fun and games. We got jewelry, we got cars, everything's cool. But when it comes down to Black Lives Matter, uh, all ages have to come together. And you got to understand this, these young kids show. All we can do is reinforce them with knowledge and wisdom and be proud of them.
There we go, man. We just got a few minutes. Joe has to go and do the Joper show, guys. This guy is the mogul. You know him as the Don Cartagena. He's doing a
Yeah.
million things. We got a couple of questions for Twitch, man. I just got to get
Okay.
in. People already tuned in. First question from Twitch says, "How has listening to music helped shape you growing up, and how has music helped shape your adult life?"
Coming up, music was everything. Music saved my life. I would be in jail for 100 years, or I'd be dead, if it wasn't for music. And as far as music is the universal language, man. It breaks all barriers. You know, it's just beautiful. Imagine the world without music. And growing up, I like to think I'm hip hop history, just being a fan, breakdancing and writing graffiti and going to the jams, and then being older with music, being able to create music and bringing out some of the biggest people to ever touch the mic in the game. And
Mm.
it's crazy when you see DMX. They asked him the other day who was his top five, and in his top five he had Big Pun and Big L, and these are my both rhyming partners. Digging in the crates, Terror Squad. So to be able to contribute to hip hop culture, and even with doing stuff like the Joker show and all that, and just I say Black and Latinos are tuned in, and we talking that real, but also all our Caucasian friends, our white friends, they can learn a lot, and they can learn how we really feel, because I don't have a boss, so I'm unfiltered, and we talk what we really want to talk, and that's a part of hip hop. Hip hop taking over, hip hop on the front line. People scared for their lives. People are paranoid. I've been paranoid. I've been terrified. We got a lot of friends of ours that passed away from this COVID-19. And I still take to the front line as a voice of the hip hop community, and talk to the people and try to help them get through this.
Joe, do you ever see it? And maybe with this George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, we definitely have to say we want justice for her too. I love seeing today a lot of women from Alicia Keys, Cardi
All
B,
the females,
Rhapsody.
Lala, Lauren Ridinger. I've seen a lot of females putting up together. Let me tell you, do you know this about Breonna Taylor? That's big, man.
Yeah, that's big. We got to have justice for her. This is a woman that was in a bed sleep. The police kicked down the door. Her boyfriend was trying to defend the home. The police killed her, saying they was in a home looking for somebody that was already in custody. and she was an essential worker. This was somebody who was spending her life helping people, and the police killed her. So we got to have justice for her as
So
well.
that's the pain. You know, that's the pain. That's what this is all about. That's why you see everybody's face, the pain. Too many stories of this are so common. And that's why the people are saying, nah, we ain't letting up. And then you see in the protests, when the cops manhandle somebody, whether they're white, black, Spanish, a lady will run in and tackle the cop or
Mhm.
somebody attack. Like, nah, we're not going for that no more. We're not going to sit here
Yeah.
and watch you kill innocent people. We're not going for that no more. We ain't just pulling out the camera. We're not going for that no
Nah,
more.
we're
So
gonna
they
be
either got
active.
to make laws to make it change, or it's going to be some real change out here.
Gotta be, man. When you see them pushing the 75-year-old man and just left him there bleeding from his ear, like he was
Let me
a
tell you
piece of
something. I know Black
trash.
Lives Matter, but let me tell you, the most disgusting thing I've seen in this whole 2 weeks of protest is how you shove a 76-year-old man. You crack his head in half and you walk over him knowing that this man got a good chance of dying in broad daylight. After that, they arraigned the two guys that pushed him. You got like 500 cops out there standing ovation when they came out to court. But what are you clapping for? So now you don't see what's going on out here? Like, you giving these guys a standing ovation for cracking a 76-year-old man's head open in broad daylight. It's wrong, man. The whole system's corrupt. The whole system's wrong. And if they don't get it by now, that's exactly what's wrong.
Last question we got for you, Joe. And you've been one of the people very vocal um, about Trump. You always voiced your opinion about Trump. We hate what he did with our brothers and sisters in Puerto Rico. How he was just out there just throwing it was just disgusting, man. But
Paper towels,
thank God we had Joe to get the plane and go out there and help some of the people, man. God bless
couple
you
of
for that.
planes,
Yeah,
couple of planes.
yeah,
Each plane was 250,000 pounds of water and women's hygienes and food. And we sent out there, I think we sent 4 planes out there.
yeah.
So we did what we can. Me and the whole New York City and me and Jay-Z, we paid for the planes. But you know, Trump, is a bad guy, man, and he's very divisive. Um, and it's sad that half of the country doesn't see it that way. And we're manipulated by media. We got one half of the media saying that Trump's the greatest. Then we got the other half saying he's the worst. And everybody's against each other. Like, we have seen the most through this presidency, we have seen the most ugliest things that we have never seen before in our generation. We got the little Mexican kids in the cages at the border, ICE just running in people's houses and breaking homes, because we got kids that are American citizens and born here. One day they come home from school and somebody tells them, yo, they took your mother, your father back to Guatemala.
Nah,
Uh,
it's the worst, man. Joe, the exact question from Twitch is: it says the election is in a few months away. What do you think is going to happen, and how do you see the country healing?
Vote or die. There is no way around it. You got to vote. You got to vote Joe Biden, even if you don't like Joe Biden. Me personally, I love Joe Biden. But if you don't like Joe Biden, there's only two people up for the job. It's Donald Trump and Joe Biden. So I would vote for Joe Biden. There's no way we could do 4 more years of Trump. It's impossible.
And you saw in Atlanta yesterday, they already trying to rig the polls and
Voter
everything.
suppression, they do that all the time. I don't know why we, in the so-called richest country, the most democratic, and every time in our neighborhoods, the lines are so discouraging that if you got to work or you got kids in the daycare, uh, this is voter suppression.
Yeah. Joe, I appreciate it, man.
All right,
I
my
know you.
brother,
I
I
know
love
you
you,
got to
man. You
jump.
be safe.
Love always. I'm.
Shout out
I'm
to
gonna look for.
everybody on Twitch.
There we go, man. I'm gonna look for our other brother Khaled, man. I'm gonna try to track Khaled
Hit him
down
up.
right
Hit him
now.
up. He
All
ready.
right,
All right,
I'm
my
on it.
brother. One love.
Love,
All right.
bro. Big up to my brother Fat Joe, always answering that call, man. He's always giving back. The actual first time I met Fat Joe, I'm gonna tell you a quick story. I was at Jimmy's the Bronx Cafe. They was doing a benefit. It was Fat Joe, it was Big Pun, and out of nowhere it was Jay-Z also. They was doing a big benefit where they was giving water to a lot of people that was in need. This was like 1998. So Joe's been doing it for so many different decades, man. Big up to that brother. Next, we're going to keep it going. I have another icon, another legend, Royce the 5'9", somebody who's always been a voice of the people, somebody who's also giving back to the people as well. Royce, I've given a chance to talk to you twice during this COVID lockdown, man. How are you, my brother?
I'm good, my brother. It's an honor and a privilege as always, man. Always good to talk to you. How you feeling?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm actually inspired by everything that's going on. Uh we just had Fat Joe on, and we was just talking about how in the past there's been these marches, there's been these horrific incidents, there's been these marches, and then everything just stops, and that's it. But it really, to me, it really feels different with this George Floyd. Obviously, we riding for Breonna Taylor too, and Ahmaud Arbery, and everybody. But just to see people from all across the globe unified, it feels really different. To feel like this is going to be a sustained effort. What do you think?
Um, yeah, I mean it has similar characteristics. Um, some of the things are eerily similar. We've been seeing them for a long time, and we're not used to seeing results based off of it. I think is the thing about this one that separates a little bit is that they kind of caught us at a time where they caught the world at a time where everybody's kind of like sitting in front of their computer and coming right off of the pandemic, kind of one thing overlapping the other. It kind of like forces people to look at the truth. I mean, it forces people to look at it, and you force people to look at it long enough, you force them to confront it. And now I think we're getting to a point where people are either starting to confront it, or at least they're interjecting how they feel in a way that they're choosing a side. Like, you don't get to be up in the air on this one. This is not one of those gray area things. It's kind of like it's holding people accountable right now. And I'm proud of us. I'm glad that we didn't allow for people to use like, oh, you're looting, you're right, you're looting, we don't like the way you're protesting, you're not doing this right, you're not doing it. We didn't let that get to us, and we just kind of, for lack of a better term, just fuck shit up. You know what I mean? And I think that that was one of the only courses of action we could take. And throughout it all, is for the most part been just a peaceful protest. You know what I mean? So I just think it's a whole lot of things that need to be fixed, and I think it's a whole lot more people aware, and it's a whole lot more people who can now not say they aren't aware. You know what I mean? Or say, you know what I mean? They can say, "Oh, I didn't know, but now I know." Whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's about taking steps now, and we're not stopping. We're not stopping. So it's I think it's just one of those moments of reckoning, man. It's just time to make some changes.
I thought it was beautiful today how a lot of our beloved female figures, Alicia Keys, Queen Latifah, even Cardi B, man. I love Cardi B too. The fact that they put out these video messages for Breonna Taylor, because it's time, man. Like, we got to get justice for this young lady as well. She was in her sleep, minding her business, and some things you just can't say sorry for. You
Hmm.
know, like you can't say sorry for murdering that woman.
Yeah, and it's just like you said, it's time, man. It's time to be all inclusive. You know, with our community. You know what I mean? Like we gotta take all things into consideration. You know, and we gotta learn how to delegate these responsibilities, and we gotta also make sure that we're learning how to identify with certain things and how to speak, and you know, like, to make sure that we're not doing things in the process that gets in the way of the agenda at hand. You know what I mean? For example, like, saying things that are obvious, like, yo, we got to stop killing each other. Well, yeah, you're right. We got to stop killing each other, but we got to not make that a thing right now in a way where it sounds like we're challenging the initial call to action. Like, we have to prioritize. Not saying one thing is more important than the other, but we have to be focused on how to actually get to a better place with these situations. We've done enough stating the obvious. You know, we've done enough challenging each other. We've done enough of that. We already understand what the problems are. Some of us are aware of, you know, where these problems evolve from. Some of us are not. You know what I mean? Some people don't need to be involved in the conversation at all. Like, when you're talking about us killing each other, white people have nothing to do with that. We don't need to talk to them about that. They don't have anything to do with fixing it.
Right.
They have everything to do with that being a thing that's injected into our fabric. You know, dating all the way back to, you know, slaves, you know, not being able to be violent toward their master, toward their slave master. So, you know, they place that aggression on the closest thing next to them, you know, as a coping mechanism. You know what I mean? So it's been injected into our fabric. You know what I mean? So that's something that we got to work on from within, and we got to be able to identify with these things, and we got to stop allowing people to sweep things under the rug like they don't matter. Like, everything matters. Everything's relative. You know what I mean?
Big time, man. Royce, you've been Royce the 5'9" for quite some time, man. For a couple of decades now, plus, man. But um, how has your interaction with the police been? Has there been a time since you've been like an actual artist where you interacted with the police that you just didn't feel safe? Did it get too out of hand?
I've never been made to feel safe around the police. I've never my the way that I view the police through the lens that I'm looking at them, like, that's never even been one of the options. I've never viewed them as any sort of, like, you know, public official or employee of the people. I've always just associated them with being authoritative figures, you know, and enforcing enforcing the black codes. You know what I mean? Like, I take it back to the sheriff patrol on them. I feel like they just here to enforce the black codes. You know what I mean? So, and it's more of a enforcer thing than it is, you know, making me feel safe. The police have never made me feel safe. I've had some bad encounters with them. Um, there are issues where there's pieces of it that I can hold myself accountable as well. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, like, I feel like, just as a black man, that's just a part of growing up. You know what I mean? That's something we've learned to normalize. You know, I've never, like, made an effort, a concerted effort, to have any sort of relationship with the police. You know what I mean? Because the only time we talk about the police is when we're talking about being interrogated, being taken to jail, or like, I don't like, you know, whenever they show up, to me, it's all bad. It's associated with all bad memories. I've never seen the police and went, woo, so glad they're here. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that's not how I view them. I get pulled over to this day. Um, there is some thoughts in my mind. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel I don't feel like I'm in complete control of whatever is about to happen, because I never know what I'm gonna run into. You know, officer to officer. You know, especially if I'm in the suburbs and it's a white officer, I never know what I'm gonna get. So I always just tell myself to try to just be as calm and as respectful as possible. You know what I mean? So So that's pretty much how I look at them. And then like the chief of police in the city in Detroit, Chief Craig, that's my guy. You know what I mean? Like we connected to them. We got a relationship with them. So that's why all our protests are like controlled, peaceful. You know what I mean? It's a controlled sort of environment. So like, but like in the suburbs, yeah, I've had bad experience. Been called the N word. Beat up,
Mhm.
all of that. Like it's a lot of racist cops in the suburbs, in Detroit. You know what I mean? So I just try to stay away from 'em.
One of the sad things, man, is that as black men, if we talk to our friends, it's almost like the normal thing that even I got a lot of friends, man, never been in like the streets or anything like that. They're not quote unquote tough guys. They're not out committing crimes. They're teachers and they do stocks. Me, I'm a journalist. But one thing that we all seem to have in common is that one time or another in our lives, we've all felt those handcuffs on us for one reason or another, and it's like stuff that we never even did wrong. I went to jail one time for a suspended license. I spent the night and was out, but there's been other times where I just got handcuffed for no reason at all. Like I didn't even do anything, and it's the sad thing about it is that it's a common story with all of us. Like we all tell our stories, and it's not a shocking. Oh, I can't believe that happened to you. It's like, yeah, that happened to me too.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a little bit easier because we normalize things anyway.
Right.
It'd be a little bit easier, a easier pill to swallow if we knew, that this treatment was being distributed equally. Then it would just be like, all right, the police period is just problematic, but that's not the case. It's happening to us. You know what I mean? Like it's not only happening to us, but it's happening to us in a way that is problematic to us where we have to see it. You know what I mean? It's not like we're accusing people of anything. We're in outrage about things that we're seeing on camera. You know what I mean? So like for something that traumatic to happen and like for us to be numb to that, and they still find a way to defend this behavior or make it us versus somebody or make it Black Lives Matter versus this. It's all semantics. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why I'm glad that we went to a place where we shook shit up and we made we kind of forced their hand, but we didn't force their hand in a way that we could force their hand. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of like I've seen a lot of clips of like outwardly racist guys that are parts like of hate groups, and they're mad at the whole Black Lives Matter narrative. So like the way they deal with that is they threaten us. Like so they literally make videos. There was a guy who said he's waiting on, and they are Trump supporters, by the way, which I don't understand why people don't find that problematic. All of them are Trump supporters. So whatever, it's something about Trump's administration that attracts all racist people. So
Man.
so there's a guy who's like, I'm just waiting on our president Donald Trump to send out a tweet giving us the legal right to end this. Like it's not going to be the police who's going to end it. We're going to end it. It's
Wow.
going to be ended in under 5 minutes. And I'm looking at it. I'm listening to him, and I'm thinking to myself, like, first of all, which one is it? Are we like violent, unstable? Y'all afraid of us? Y'all killing us because we're so violent? Or are we weak and helpless? And y'all are so dominant and superior, and y'all just gonna come. I don't know where he plans on doing that at, but he ain't coming to Detroit and doing none of that shit he talking about. I don't know
Mhm.
who the fuck he think he talking about. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like they shown where they can attack. We're clear on that. You know what I'm saying? Everybody talking about we're at war. We're not at war. We're saying we're protesting for justice and peace and equality. They attacking, but that don't make it war. You can go to the boxing gym and hit bags. It don't mean you're a boxer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
So
one
that
of the
see, go ahead.
no, you finish your thought, brother.
It's you've shown that you can attack, but you haven't shown how you can handle somebody tearing your fucking soul out your body. Like, that's the thing, man. Like, everybody's strapped with corral for war, man. Like that naive mentality of thinking that you can just go wipe out groups of people. You're not wiping anybody out over here. You know what I mean? Like, so just me, somebody who's been in extreme situations in my life, I understand how messy this can become. And I just can't understand how anybody who calls themselves any sort of religious Christian or whatever, I don't understand how you can sit in the highest seat in politics and everything about your vibe encourages all of the wrong behaviors and everything that is ill about our country. And you can push agendas that's basically pushing us into a situation where, man, it's one thing to read about the Civil War. It's another thing to live through a whole new, messier one. You know what I mean? Like, you're talking about a bunch, no order. You're talking about a bunch of people with rifles and shooting in their backyard and angry and don't know what they're mad at. Because I still, to this day, don't understand why white supremacist groups want to kill me. I understand that they, in their minds, they feel that they're superior or they want to make themselves believe that. But I don't understand why, how you can be angry at somebody and want to wish harm on them, but you don't know why. Like, Donald Trump is probably my least favorite person that exists on the planet. I don't want to see nothing happen to him. I just want him out of that seat.
Right.
And go
Right.
back to his life for being a dickhead. I don't want him to die. I don't want nobody to assassinate him. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well,
I can't like create hate out of nothing. You know what I mean? Like, you have to like drive me to that. You know what I'm saying? But these people, like, they find hate from nothing and channel it toward people who aren't wishing them harm in any sort of way. Peaceful
yeah,
protest.
yeah, and that's the thing with these protests. Like, it's all about people just trying to get equality, trying to just get the basic necessity, civil liberties, human rights. Like, we want the right to be at a traffic stop and not get murdered. You know, and one of the is you touched on the looting and everything. And somebody asked me about that the other day, and I said, well, you know, my definition is somebody going in there and stealing some Gucci sneakers and some Nikes. I don't call that violence, but what I do call violence is when I see these police officers at these rallies push a 75-year-old man down to the ground and leave him bleeding from his ear. I've seen the police literally take the SUV and drive through a barricade into some protesters. You know, I've seen police. It just seemed like some of them, and I'm gonna say some of them, they're just so angry with the movement that they can't even control themselves.
Yeah, you know, like, we're all held to different standards. You know, the police don't pay me. I don't get paid out of the police tax dollars. So, you know, like, it's not my responsibility to keep a cooler head. It's not my responsibility to like control myself or control my emotions. You're the employee of the people. You're supposed to be psychologically equipped to deal with people that are mourning and hurting. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't care. Like, I don't care if like people want to act like they don't understand it or they want to act like, yo, they're looting, they're tearing up things. Yo, most of those people that are talking like that, it's not their shit. They don't own shit either. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
like, I mean, yo, pardon me for sounding insensitive, but I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about none of this property, none of it. Yo, the slave patrol, the police, the origin of the police is originated in slave patrol. Like, and like, in order to be a member of the slave patrol, you could be anywhere from 16 to 60, and your job was to hunt down slaves that's trying to escape and kill them. You know, and the whole purpose of it was to protect the land that the slaves built, that the slave masters owned, right? And just that whole theory of placing land at a higher at a higher uh, prioritizing land as higher or more important than people, than bodies, is like the exact same thing that's happening. It's like they're complaining about everything but the bodies. Like they're complaining about looting and all of that in response to something they created. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's like all of the collateral damage that comes along with this, it's just a result of something you refuse to fix. You can go through each little thing and go, yo, why y'all handling it like this? Why y'all handling it like that? I don't fucking care about that, man. Like none of the store owners aren't doing that. The business owners aren't doing that. The people with gainful employment aren't doing that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're basically you're listening to the voice of people who felt like outside of this equation, they never had a voice. This is their way of speaking to you. This is how they talk. That burning building, that's the catharsis to them. Because before they burnt that building, you never paid any attention to anything they had to say. And that's why the kids who live in the ghetto and the marginalized areas that have been pushed outside of areas that are gentrified, that kid with $5 in his pocket feels like his $5 is not as important as somebody's $5 he sees on his TV. You know
Right.
what I mean? And he
Right.
doesn't feel like he can speak to you and he'll get through to you because nothing about your system says, let me fix the things that's wrong with these communities. These communities are like suppressed feelings. It's like push that over there, get it out my way so I don't have to look at it. We'll get to that when we're forced to get to that. Well, here we are. We here.
Yeah, and the other thing too that's being swept under the rug is that there have been these instigators and these anarchists that have been infiltrating these protests and doing, if they're not doing the looting themselves, they definitely been inciting it. They definitely been leaving weapons around. Like, we're not coming around with kerosene and all of that. They did arrest a Caucasian gentleman for starting the fire in Minneapolis that burned down the police station. So it's all not the protesters too. So
Well, they know that. They know that.
yeah,
What they're trying to do is make us feel like, oh, y'all are falling for that, or watch out because you're gonna have to take the fault. Well, I don't care about that. That's like another thing that's just their fault. It's a part of it. You know what I mean? Every protest has been like that. Like they've all been like that. They've all welcomed in this sort of energy. Like you have to consider these things before you allow things to get out of hand. Like if you're gonna be the president, you're gonna be a leader. You're gonna be the mayor. You're gonna be a leader. You have to understand when certain behaviors are problematic, and you have to like get out ahead of things before they get out of control. Because once they get out of control, you're forced to take drastic measures that you're not really equipped to take. Now they're talking about completely like defunding and this banning completely the police force in fucking Minneapolis. You know what I mean? Like,
man.
and it's like drastic measures like that have to be considered in order for us to even start to begin to see change. And that's not our fault. That's their fault. You know what I mean? So I'm not like sitting around, like I'm noticing steps that people are taking, white people are taking, record labels are taking, you know, different companies, corporations are taking to be in our good graces. And I appreciate the thought. You know what I mean? I appreciate the thought, but it's not like we're not thanking you from here to across the street. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
this is just what it is. You know what I mean? Like you guys let it get to this because a lot of you guys were quiet this whole time. Now you're being forced to say something, and you're being forced to like choose where you want to land and how you want to be perceived because nobody wants to wear racism but hate groups. Racism isn't cool. You know what I mean? That's something they want to secretly do. You know what I mean? So it's just like, like these guys like Charles Barkley and fucking Terry Crews, like the one time in the history of the country where you don't have to be that guy who like needs validation from white people. You still can't deal in this moment. You know what I mean? Like We fuck shit up, so you don't even have to be like that. You still don't know how to be any other way but seeking validation from white people. Like your whole life, you've been taught that happiness is a happy white person. Like rich and successful is living exactly like a rich and successful white person. You know what I'm saying? Like having the stuff that they have. You know, like no individualism. Like we have to learn how to fucking walk and chew gum at the same time. We should be able to become successful without it coming at a price of us being crippled, where we're not even connected to anything that's going on, or you know what I'm saying, like something like that, or we're signing contracts after we've given our whole life to a sport or a craft, and we sign a contract that says we can't even turn around and take what we've generated and the knowledge and the influence and now apply that back to the environments that we came from. We can't elevate our environments, and we can't protest things, and we can't fight for equality. We can't do that on these platforms or these companies that are considered American institutions. You know what I mean? And there's too many different things they can hide behind, and too many different ways of using semantics that it's like I'm tired of talking. It's like I
Yeah.
can't even, like, if I can't have a realistic conversation, I don't even want to talk.
Well, you spoke about some of that on your gram. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, where you was talking about the Grammys switching their language a little bit, taking urban out of some of the categories. I saw just today on the news where they actually taking Gone with the Wind down from some of these streaming platforms for movies because obviously it was takes place in slavery times, which is definitely not cool. And then today I also saw that NASCAR is finally banning the Confederate flag. What's your thought about that?
Whatever. You know what I mean? Like, like, it's like, if NASCAR flew the Confederate flag this whole time, then that tells you everything. Like NASCAR doesn't want to risk um, an entire movement of people being against them. So they're taking the necessary steps. It doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? Like, I appreciate it, I guess. It doesn't fucking matter. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter, bro. Like it's just people doing things. It's like they're just trying to figure out things to do to see if would this work? Is this cool? How's this make you feel, Negroes? And it's like, I just feel like, yo, you're like not even scratching the surface. Like when you figure out the right thing to do, I'll let you know. But in the meantime, we're not stopping. You know what I mean? And it's not like we're looking for anything from white people or from companies. It's like there's injustices all over the place, and we're not even speaking about working retroactively. Like things that happened in the past, we're gonna let that go because we have so many things on our plate right now, like Breonna Taylor, the way that, like, black gay men are being attacked and it's being swept under the rug, black trans men, black trans women, like black women. You know what I'm saying? Like all of these things being swept under the rug and them somehow feeling disconnected from our movement because they don't feel like they got that same support from us. These are issues that are like pertinent right now. I don't
Right.
give a fuck about NASCAR. NASCAR never had anything to do with us. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, okay, cool, NASCAR. It's cool. It's sending the right message, but you sent the wrong message for so long. It's hard for me to look at you and, like, I don't have the time to look at you. You're not something that's worth my time to look at.
Yeah. Is I mean, you touched on so many different things, man. One of the things Joe talked about when he was on was also the support for the transgender, the LGBT community, because you know you can't be out here talking about equality, and then these people are getting attacked and beat up and everything. Well, we need everybody to be human to everybody. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think we've been talking about this a lot in my studio, and I think when um when Billy Porter did that video, it stung me. It stung me. It like I had a moment where it forced me to pay attention to something that I was not looking at.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then I did a Zoom call I was on with Janelle Monáe, and she spoke about it. She spoke about the same thing that we're talking about: trans women, trans men, and it was a bigger deal than I knew about, which is problematic. You know what I mean? Because I feel like this moment that we're having right now, this moment of clarity, like they shouldn't feel disconnected from this. Like this shouldn't make uh my man Porter want to say what he said. It shouldn't make him feel like that. It should make all black people feel liberated and valuable and like and heard. You know, like, so that's something that needs to be weaved into the narrative, and then there's steps that needs to be taken. It's not going to happen overnight, but I'm going to hold myself accountable for being comfortable with being separated from the LGBTQ. What is it? T3? What is it? LGBTQ, and there's something at the end of it too now.
Community.
Nah, not community. It's like they added something. LGBTQ.
Dev, send that to us, Dev, so we can have it. And
Yeah, so
we'll put
like
it in post.
I don't know if I didn't think that it mattered, or maybe I wasn't looking at it. You know what I mean? But I don't think that I was lending it enough of my concern, especially as a creator. You know, like I feel like artistic intent is everything. You know what I mean? So like
Right.
if I'm writing something and I'm using a certain verbiage and my intention is not to hurt a group of people, then that is not what I want anything I'm writing to do. If my intention is to hurt you, then that's what I'm gonna do, and that's what the mark is gonna be. That's what the target is gonna be. But if I don't intend to do that and it does that, me as a creator, I'm missing my target. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like if using certain words is the only thing that's making me take that gamble, I don't need to use those words because I don't need to use any words. I can take any words and turn them into something. You know what I mean? Like I'm a words guy. So I'm not dependent on certain words in order to be able to express myself. So knowing that, it's almost like I damn near feel embarrassed to be seeing it this way now and not seeing it this way yesterday. You know what I mean? And like,
We've grown, man. We've hip hop community has grown. I always feel that this is the most progressive genre of entertainment. Period, not just music. Entertainment. Period. I remember when I was a younger guy, man, and there was rumors. It was such a big thing where they was talking about who's the gay rapper and all of that and all of that craziness, and it was such a big thing on the rumor mill. And now you look 25 years later, 20 years later, you see little Nas X. He comes out as being gay and he gets so much overwhelming support, which I think is cool. He's doing songs with Nas, he's doing songs with a lot of other people, and I think that says so much for where we are as a hip hop community, is that we have grown. Everybody is wiser, and now we're not gonna stand for hurting one group of people and empowering another group of people. Now we're gonna empower everybody. We're all in this together.
yeah, and I feel like we got ourselves to a place where um the people who are mature in our culture, who rap, maybe the street shit or aggressive content, um, we like got ourselves to a point where we're not gonna say anything bad about gay people or gay rappers, but we're not necessarily about to like take steps to embrace them and support them. We haven't got to that point. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think that's what Janelle Monáe is saying. You know what I'm saying? I think she's saying they feel disconnected from us, and this is why it's harmful to us as a culture. And I'm looking at it like, why didn't I see it that way? Yeah, thanks, bro. You
Yeah.
good. Why didn't I see it that way? And like, I know I don't have any problem openly supporting anybody. You know what I mean? And like, why wasn't I able to see it like we're one? You know what I mean? Like, why did I not know that they feel totally disconjointed from everything that we're doing and everything that is us? You know, and we all face the same issues, and like we're more stronger as a collective. And not only do they feel that,
Oh, okay. He's
our
back.
women, our women don't feel protected by us. You know, like
Man,
I don't think that there's camaraderie in places and spots, but we got to take a stand, man. We got to start like not allowing certain things to be a thing anymore. You know what I mean? Like
right.
people putting their hands on our women, the police putting their hands on our women, our youngins putting their hands on our women, um, our youngins or people, committing hate crimes against our trans men, trans women, all of that shit. There has to be a stand against it. It can't just be like, oh, I don't support that behavior. We got to condemn that shit.
We got to
We got to
speak
like,
out.
we got to do
We got to
away with it.
speak out. We got to speak out. You definitely right about that. We got to speak out, and we got to show that same energy that we're showing these other atrocities that's going on, because we're all in this together. We're all in this together, man. It's a it's definitely gonna be a long fight. It's definitely gonna be a long fight, but I loved it, and I want you to speak on this too. Just the energy that some of the youth is bringing to this whole movement, man. I love to see that Little Yachty was one of the first guys on the front line protesting. Sway Lee was one of the first guys on the front line protesting. Like the younger guys in hip hop are actually, stepping up to the plate as well, and being active, and getting out in these streets.
Yeah, I mean, like we said before, it's forcing everybody to understand it, look at it, confront it. You know, I can understand why a lot of the young guys, previously just kind of felt like, their money or their fame or their success separates them from this. And like, I can understand them looking at George Floyd and not seeing themselves, like looking at that as the situation that's happening to somebody and it can't happen to them. But now I think that they see it as that now. It's hitting close to home now. Like to see people react to things. You ever been to a funeral and you holding it together, but the wrong person start crying and it triggers you? I
Right.
think that kind of emotion, especially with the way this souls and spirits kind of evolve and reform in different people in different generations. Like we connected to our ancestral spirit. You know what I mean? So a lot of things are just coming out. We just connected to this in a different way. You know what I mean? Like all of our people are just starting to look familiar. We all looking familiar to each other. Like I was looking at my man Grandmaster Jay the other day, and I was like, man, this man act like one of my uncles or something. It's like I'm like rehashing a conversation I had when I was like 8 years old with one of my militant uncles, where he just like taking certain stances, and you know what I'm saying, like, and just being
Yeah.
strong, and being the kind of role model that made you feel like like your life is worth something. And
Yeah.
you don't roll over and just take it. You don't let people just treat you how they think that they can treat you. If that doesn't make you happy, you know what I'm saying, like, and it crosses a boundary that you set, and it somehow gets in the way of anything that is you in respect and your well-being, actions have to be taken, period.
I think the younger people too, man, they're also seeing the fact that this is happening to younger guys, Trayvon, Mike Brown, teenagers. This is happening to women, Brianna, Sandra Bland. Like, it's And then when they just the other day, I think it was in Texas where they had the guy in his front lawn, and all the police had their guns drawn on him, and his grandmother comes out. His grandmother looked like she was about 85 years old, and they
Mhm.
just pushed her to the ground. It's like there's no
Accountability.
discrimination. Yeah, no, there's
Accountability.
no accountability, and they going after everybody. They don't care who it is.
Hmm. I mean, yo, that comes at a price,
Yeah,
and it's like you doing that. It's like going to the casino, bro. You at the roulette table right now. It's just you're just. It's like sand dropping in the hourglass. You know what I'm saying? Like eventually you're just gonna run into the wrong one. You know what I mean? And it's gonna get ugly. You know what I mean? And that's like what I fear. You're not pushing my grandmother down, and that's gonna be that. That's not gonna happen. Not in this lifetime. You know what I mean? And it's like I know if I feel like that about my people, my grandmother, there's a lot of other people who feel like that. And contrary to popular belief, everybody not scared of the police, man. We've never been scared of the police. We've never been scared of anybody. We're not scared of hate groups. This is not a fear thing. You know what I'm saying? Like we're not in that place, man. You know what I mean? Like we're in a place now where we have used our influence for bad for many years. Nobody wants to use their influence to influence bad things. We want to use our influence to influence good things and push things in a better direction because our children can reap the benefits of steps that we take if we take the right steps. But if we don't take any steps, we can't look and be like, damn, why are our children falling in the same cycles? They'll repeat themselves. You know what I mean?
right.
Like they repeat themselves, and us as a community, we have to create our own systems. We
We
got to
need them to be
create
better than us. They got to be
our
better
own
than us.
cycles, our own systems that can offset some of these cycles that have been put in place for years and years and years. Like this, the whole construct of the police force is just a cycle to me. It's just a cycle. You know what I mean? Like first it was the slave patrol for runaway slaves, and then it turned into the slave patrol to enforce the black codes, Jim Crow. You know what I mean? Like it just evolved into what it is now. So there's no way we can enhance that into equality. That's not even like statistically like possible. It's not analytically possible. It's not scientifically possible. It's just not. The laws of the universe say that's not possible. You have to break that shit down to its lowest compound and restructure it in order for it to be even a conversation about equality in that regard.
Where do you see this as far as the music goes, man? Like what type of effect do you see this movement having on the music? Like I've seen some guys, I've seen Meek and Papoose, and I've seen some guys drop music speaking about the times, but do you ever see it going back to where we had a NWA, but we also had a Public Enemy, we also had an X Clan, we also had an EPMD, where it was just kind of balance where everybody was like really getting that spotlight.
Yeah, man. Of course, of course. Everything evolves. Creativity is a layer. It's a layered thing. You got a lot of people right now who it's very easy, especially people who want to be able to understand things. It's very easy to blame creators for things that are happening. Like let's now maybe rappers can stop making songs about killing each other, and it's like, okay, maybe we can, but what the fuck are you saying that's gonna solve? You know what I'm saying? Like people's perspective on creativity is based in not having an understanding of exactly what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, but like if you just think realistically, if you don't listen to a hip hop song and it makes you go kill anybody, then why are you assuming that that's the effect that it's having on somebody else? Like creativity is something that as long as it's in the right hands and the intent is right, we can only express what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if we express that, yes, it may put you in a certain mind frame and it may make you think of things. But if I'm not a killer, the song's not going to make me go kill anybody any faster than a song about positivity is going to make me.
Dev, how we doing, bro? Dev, how we doing? There we
My
go.
bad, man. They totally kicked me out. So I was saying, like, if I'm not a killer, then a rap song's not going to make me go kill somebody. And if
Right.
I want somebody dead, you can write all the positive songs you want to. It's not going to stop me from going to kill somebody. That's just not how that works. You know what I mean? Like if that's the case, then we're gonna have to look at not just rap songs. We got to look at movies. We got to look at everything. We got to look at rock songs. We got to look at all the depressing shit that's out there. We got to look at the agendas that are being pushed in TV shows. We got to there damn there isn't anything that exists on TV that doesn't involve some form of violence. Usage of guns. To me, it's all entertainment. It's all entertainment, but there are people in hip hop who they misuse their platform and they paint pictures with the wrong intention. But that's in any form of art. That's just what it is. You know what I mean? But there's no scientific evidence that links anything that we're saying in our lyrics that's making the crime rate go up. If anything, we're making the crime rate go down. You know what I'm saying? Like Ice-T made a song called Cop Killer. They tried to censor him from here to across the street. No cops got killed as a result of that. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
all of the things that they blame hip hop for, like the hip hop police and all of this shit. Taxpayers' dollars being paid to paying these people to profile us. Nobody solved Pac and Biggie's death. You know what I mean? Like we have transgressions in hip hop, just like anybody else has transgressions in their genres of music. Rock bands used to throw fucking couches and guitars out of hotel windows, and that was just looked at like rock and roll. Like that's just as problematic as any fucking thing else. And everybody's killing everybody. It's not just black people killing black people. You kill who you're around. You know what I'm saying? Like killing has been going on since mankind. It's part of it. You know what I mean? And there's certain nuances to the reasons why black people kill each other, and they're all rooted in systems set up by white people. So I'm not saying that it's anybody's fault. I'm saying it's something that needs to be addressed on our terms. You know what I mean? But we can't make our young creators feel like they're in some sort of a hot seat for channeling something that exists. We don't, you get to choose what you listen to. We don't get to choose the environments that we're born into. That's not a choice. So the pictures that we paint are just a reflection of what we are. You know what I mean? And it just comes out. It's not, the intention is not to influence people to do things. The intention is to paint the picture so that's our voice. Because up until hip hop was originated, we didn't have a vehicle to speak to the world.
Hmm.
That's why people were so taken aback by it, because we spoke about things that they didn't even know existed. You're talking about a country that self-proclaims itself as the greatest country in the world. You know what I mean? Like that's their image, but it's not true. So like if we speak about some of the black eyes in said country, we're just like we're reporting what it is. Like pretending like it's not a thing or it doesn't exist has never fixed anything involving trauma. Like just pretending like it's not there, that's like a suppressed feeling. That does nothing. You know what I mean? So censoring hip hop is just minimizing greatness or the potential of greatness. Nothing good could come out of that. No upside to that. You know what I'm saying? Allowing people to express themselves creatively is to allow them to grow creatively. At the beginning, Jay-Z rapped about selling drugs. Now, he's a totally different force in the community, but he needed to start there. You would never understand that if you have no connection to creativity or you've never been in these situations. And if you're not willing to try to understand, then there's no need to have the conversation. You know what I'm saying? But it's very easy to sit back and say, this is happening because of that, and that's happening because of that. But none of these people are certified to make these assumptions. They're just being fucking presumptuous. You know what I mean? I
Absolutely.
rap about what I want to rap about. You listen to what you want to listen to. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if anything, let's put more effort into uplifting our communities in a academic sort of way. Like, there's things that our children need to learn. There's a way that they need to think. If they can get themselves in a certain mind frame and they have an understanding of financial literacy and ways to make money outside of just hooping or rapping, they'll have a different sense of value of self. And if you're able to place value on yourself, you may opt out of going and fucking killing somebody today. But if you don't feel like you're a part of anything, and if your idea of success is what you see on the other end of the TV, and you view that as some faraway thing that's not really plausible, you know, like, and it's something that you feel like only certain people every every generation or so make it out, and you're seeing the world just through the lens of this neighborhood that, you know, isn't being served by the community in any way possible. You know, the worst school systems, the worst options for food, everything that would put somebody in a mind frame to be aggressive. And you know, if that's the environment that you're in, you're gonna just do what the environment says do. You can't blame people. You can't fucking blame me for being an alcoholic. You can't say I can't I can't put all of my decisions on being an alcoholic. I can't blame me being an alcoholic for all my decisions, but you can't say you had a choice to be an alcoholic. I didn't have a choice, but you wouldn't understand that unless you're an addict or you have a relationship with an addict. It's a
Mm.
disease. It's a disease. It's not a choice. I didn't choose that. You know what I mean? So I fell into certain categories, and I fell prey to certain temptations that were there. And getting into the music business just fueled a lot of my propensity to do bad things. Like my
Man.
first drink, I took my first drink with Dr. Dre because I didn't want to say no. I was 21 years old, the legal age to drink. I was an athlete all the way up until then. My
Yeah.
thing was I don't do that shit. But you get into the music business and that changes. If you don't have tutelage, you know what I mean? Like, you make all
Yeah.
your mistakes in real time and you learn all your lessons in real time. You know what I
Because
mean?
it's all open. Not to cut you off. It's all there for you. When and you're in the music industry, especially if you're successful, it's a buffet of women, drugs if you want, liquor if you want, food, whatever type of access that you can think of. If you're popping in the game, it's right there for you.
Yeah, and it's right there. And if you don't have an understanding of how important it is to establish boundaries early on and like just set limits for yourself that you're not willing to go past and just draw lines in the sand, you know, and you have to do things and you have to take stances that separate you from doing as the Romans do. You know, that's how you have to build yourself up to a point where you're thinking that way, because you're
Right.
going to be in situations that you have to make clutch decisions. And you know, every little decision matters, because just one of those clutch decisions can make or break everything. You know, and we're not talking about like, we're in a situation where if we even make it to that point, we're just so glad to be there that we're willing to go outside of the realm of what our natural character is to fit in. You know what I'm saying? So like, when you look at that and then you look at white people getting into the music business or any other field, you know, there's tutelage there. They're getting taken under people's wing. They're getting taught things. You know what I mean? Like, when I was ranting about Cash Money on my gram earlier, it was like all of those problems that you seen, like the accounting problems, and like Lil Wayne having seizures, and all of the drugs that they say they were on, like, yo, that was like, what was placed in front of people. You know what I mean? But like they weren't the first motherfuckers to get a label deal. People get label deals all the time. You don't hear about these problems because Universal didn't have to let them have accounting issues. Come on, man. Like, come on. That's easy shit. You know what I'm saying? But that's something, if it's not taught to you, how are you supposed to know how to handle that? If you're a baby and you're a hustler, you're a street nigga, all your money has been under your mattress your whole life. Now you got to figure out how to pay out everybody. Yeah, there's a large margin of possibility of error. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that he didn't do something that hasn't been done. It doesn't mean that he didn't bring a huge amount of revenue into that building for a long period of time. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I got a problem with, the transgressions being placed in the forefront, and, white people getting taken under each other's wing and being elevated to certain positions when some of them don't do shit. They can't make
Well,
records. They
yeah.
can't fucking, they don't know how to talk to people. They treat people like they're entitled. Not all white executives, some of them. I feel like there has to be some accountability, and there has to be, this is black music. Like, if our kids aren't finna come into this shit and feel just as confident in black music as white kids are when they get pulled over by the fucking police, if they can't feel that confident, then there's a disconnect somewhere. You know what I mean? So while everybody's listening, it's time. If we're gonna deal with it, let's deal with it, and let's call it for what it is. Because up until now, it hasn't worked in terms of us feeling like we're being treated equally. Cash Money didn't get done no favor. They got what they were worth, but nobody went out of their way to make sure the aesthetic of Cash Money was intact. You know what I'm saying? Like, we see it all the time. We see artists, big artists, major label dollars are basically follows them in a tornado to make sure that everything looks perfect. Damage control. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? There was no no program of damage control around Cash Money. You know what I mean? Lil Wayne going to prison for a year at the height of his fucking career, that's ridiculous. Over a gun that was just on his tour bus, that's ridiculous.
And somebody said that was their gun. Like they wanted to take the charge for Wayne, but they didn't let him do it. I got a couple of questions. We on Twitch right now. I got a couple of questions from the Twitch audience, man. It's going real big. This is an interesting question too, because it's been kind of divided right down the middle, from all of the guests on the show. Some say that they are going to vote, and voting is the greatest thing. Some say they're not interested in voting. The question from Twitch says, Royce, what did you think of the elections yesterday in Atlanta, and are you going to be taking place in the national presidential voting process?
Yes, I am. Um, I didn't get a chance to dial in or tap into the elections in Atlanta. Um, Unfortunately, I was here. I was in Detroit, and it was just a lot going on, man. I'm trying to like figure some things out and trying to figure out ways to kind of like delegate my time, and like trying to figure out ways to focus on one thing at a time, which I'm trying to figure out ways to multitask, and I've never been good at doing that. So, but in terms of the national election, I've never voted before, but
Mm,
I'm 100% voting, and it's not that I'm a Biden supporter. I'm not like against Biden, but I'm against all of the possibilities that could possibly happen with Trump sitting in there for a whole nother term. You know what I mean? So like, I'm gonna just do my part to try to get him out of there. That's gonna be the caveat for me voting. Like, I'm not one of those guys who are gonna try to like come off as extremely like politically inclined or some sort of expert in political science, or just like, I'm not. I can't speak intelligently about the intricacies of politics. But I think a blind man can see that there has to be an effort from our community um, to get that man out of the office, because his whole administration is marketed toward the opposite vote of us. Like it's meant to divide us, and they're all voting because they want to keep him in there. Like they feel a sense of like superiority when he's there. Like his presence is like the opposite of what Obama was. Like when Obama was in there, he was the most recognizable, famous person in the world. And young white people was looking at him so brilliant, poised, intelligent, and acting black, but speaking intelligently, articulating with perfect English, and being poised and being cool in the fire. He didn't do everything right, but his disposition, and like he put a beautiful black family in the White House who acted black, who treated everybody equally. You know what I mean? Who didn't carry themselves like they were superior to anyone. And that was like the closest that we've come aesthetically to equality in America. And that's what Trump hates about him so much. He hates what he represents. He hates that thing that he represents because he's such a fucking idiot. You know what I'm saying? So like there's a certain level of distinguish that you have to have in order to have that kind of power. You know what I mean? Like if we see you panicking or we see you exhibiting reckless behaviors in times of chaos, that's gonna set the tone. You know what I mean? Like if Michael Jordan is in the fucking huddle and he looks like he's worried, shit, everybody's gonna be worried. You know what I
Everybody
mean?
gonna panic. Hell
But
yeah.
if he looks cool, it's gonna give everybody else a sense of coolness. Like, okay, we got this. You know what I mean? And that's what his job is as a leader. But he doesn't do that because he's a dickhead. You know what I'm saying? So I think that we need to focus on getting him out of there, and that's just the beginning. You know what I mean? I don't know much about Joe Biden. Right now, I just identify him as the lesser of the evils, and I just think that speaks to the problems in America. Like I'm not even like how a lot of black people are on the Bernie Sanders wave. I'm not on that wave either. So I'm just I have really no faith other than knowing it's important to try to at least vote Trump out. That's what I'm trying to do.
Well, it definitely, man, it just, to say the least, it raised some concerns when I saw Trump come out and call for the National Guard and all of these people to, be out there with the protests. And then we just saw on the gram, I don't know if you saw these guys in Jersey, they were mocking George Floyd, where they had one guy laying on the ground and another guy with his knee in his back, and you see the Trump
Mhm.
posters in the back, and it's like, man, the stuff that this guy is inciting with his tweets and just
Mhm.
his just his demeanor is it's not healthy for the country.
Yeah, they're defending hatred and violence. They're like they want that to be normal. Like you're this is your response to a peaceful protest, and you can't like a lot of people don't want to hold Trump accountable to this, but he's like we we it was an outcry from us in the form of a peaceful protest, and his reaction to that was he met that with force. Like I don't understand why people don't see that. Like it was like he met that with force. It was gonna go as far as we were willing to take it. All he was letting us know was, "What's up? I'm ready." Like I'd never heard nothing come out of this man's mouth that sounded like he was trying to get to some sort of solution with us with this situation. When all of those white people with the machine guns and the masks stormed the city county building, he said they were good people.
They was
Like
they
they're
was
just
standing on
frustrated.
there with the burners. That was crazy. One of the most powerful images that I saw out of this whole thing, and I know we gotta let you go. You gotta get to work. I saw it looked like he was in National Guard. He looked like he was a soldier, a young black guy, and he was out there, you know, at the behest of Trump and whoever, and they was playing "I'm Black and I'm Proud," and he just was saying it under his breath. I'm black and I'm proud. Like the conflict. that he was just going through at that time, I was like, man, I can't imagine just the tug of war he's going on in his heart right now.
It's that time. It's that time where we all need to identify with who our enemy is. Who's your enemy? You know, like when you join the army or the National Guard, what was your intention? Like, what was your goal? You know, like, was it to serve your country? And is that what this is? You know, are you serving your country by attacking us? And if you feel you're doing that, or if you feel you're not doing that, then some decisions need to be made. I said Trump gonna go out like Alonzo on training day, bro.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like he's just gonna keep pushing and pushing, and everybody's just gonna look at him like, you know what? We ain't doing this shit. Fuck you, Trump. And he's gonna be like, what? You kill them. You go get them. Go get them. No, we ain't not doing nothing. Cause it's damn near like everybody's just looking at him now, like, man, damn.
Yeah, we need somebody to step up, and it's interesting that you know among all of this chaos and all of these just hurt feelings that everybody's having, some of the best words of encouragement and healing that we've had have come from former President Barack Obama and The Rock. You know what I'm saying? The actor Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. Like he's had some really great things to say. I look forward to seeing him if he ever goes in politics. I think he could be good. I got another question from Twitch. It says, Royce, do you think that we'll see some of the greats from Detroit team up, such as Eminem, Big Sean, Cash Doll, yourself, and lead a gigantic protest or rally in the city of Detroit?
Um, I'm not opposed to it, but it's not something that is sitting right on my mind. You know, as like a I don't see that as a more logical next step than what I'm kind of focused on right now. And what I'm kind of focused on right now, and this is in no way this. I'm not trying to sound dismissive about protesting. I think we've done that, and I think that the protesting that's happening right now, it's very effective. It's very effective. I think so it doesn't get to a point where it just feels like we're yelling. We have to start taking steps to focus on a narrative that comes across clear and concise, that's understood by all. And in order to do that, you have to assemble in a way where the right people are focusing on the right thing at the right time, all at the same time. You know what I mean? It's time to speak now. Like, we have everybody's attention. Now it's like, what do you want to say aside from Black Lives Matter, which is the obvious? You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like what my focus is. Um, I'm not so sure that I can achieve that through a rally or protest. Um, and certainly if I'm gonna like join forces with Cash Doll, Sean, and M, people with influence like that, I'm gonna try and use them in a way where it best serves our community, and we see some results. And that's what I kind of been focused on. So I got a lot of ideas. I've been talking to a lot of people. A lot of dope people have been coming together. Everybody has the same agenda. Everybody's about peace. Everybody's about finding a solution. Everybody's in the right headspace, and everybody's fearless. Everybody's ready. You know what I mean? So just I encourage everybody to just keep what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Everybody's not an activist. Everybody's not, Killer Mike. You know what I mean? So don't try to outdo him with the articulation. Just whatever, find what it is that how you can contribute, and just do your part. You may be the person who cracks the jokes and like gives us comedy relief and gets us through it. You might be the rapper who just releases the dope song that has everybody talking for a second and kind of cheering us up. Whatever it is, find out what that is, but just don't be silent. You know what I mean? Because you feel something. Whatever it is, just figure out a way to bring that across and express that, and I think we'd be good.
Man, I appreciate you so much, man. There's so many jewels that you dropped tonight, man. And yeah, man, you guys in Detroit definitely have a lot of power out there. both on the front lines and behind the scenes. I know if M makes some of them calls to some of these people in legislature, he could move. I see that Jay-Z has been doing some stuff behind the scenes too, man. And like you said, everybody doing their part. That's the great thing about it. Everybody, we gotta um I take it to the Detroit Pistons, man. Your guys, um, even though Rodman didn't score no points, he had to pull them rebounds down in order for it to be a success. Zeke, you go score 30 points, man. Microwave, give us about 15. You know,
But the thing about Rodman, he scored when he needed to. He
yeah,
just didn't need to most of the time. Like, and that's like the value in like people playing their part and it not feeling like it's just a bunch of chefs in the kitchen. Like volleying for space. Everybody's got to kind of like play their part and play their role and identify with what their role is. And we got to stay consistent. The biggest thing for me is just maintaining consistency and sustainability. You know what I mean? It's bad enough that we can't work retroactively because there's like so many things that have been overlooked. But moving forward, I don't want to miss anything. I don't want no stones unturned. You know what I mean? So we're not gonna get out of your face. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna go on and it's gonna keep going on. You know what I mean? Like this is an opportunity for us to mend a lot of things within our own community and also mend a lot of things in America. And we're gonna plant trees so the future generations can enjoy the shade. Like that's the spirit of like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. They knew what they were doing. They knew they weren't gonna see the results that they were looking for in one generation, but they were willing to take those steps. And I'm not in any way comparing us to those great men, but I feel like that we need to think with that kind of optimistic view, and we need to be just as gung ho about making shit right as we are about Takashi 6ix9ine working with Akon. You know what I'm saying?
hmm.
Like we have to stop giving a fuck about things that don't matter. You know what I mean? Not while things that matter are right on the floor. Later for that. That's not important. Let's focus on some shit that's gonna put our children in a better place. You know what I
Right.
mean? Let's just all be assertive and fearless.
And
That's it.
let's not think victory is here, man. Like, we got to get some convictions. Like, it's a lot more to go. Like, some of these guys got arrested, cool, but we need a conviction. They need to up those guys murder charge to murder one too. I saw that somebody said that the cop actually knew Floyd, man, so that could have been premeditated, but that's a whole another story for another interview. I appreciate you, Rush. You stay safe, my brother.
Always love and respect to you, OG. Peace and love.
Yes, well.